Hey guys, this is Caesar, your host for Inspire Movement. Welcome to another segment of Word of the Day. The word of the day today is going to be humility. We're going to be discussing this very powerful and impactful word, humility. So when we think of humility, we think of the act of being humble, right? We also think of the freedom of pride and arrogance. Typically, when you think of somebody that's very humble, you think of somebody that's very modest and also very respectful, has a certain demeanor about them that tends to calm us down. If you've ever talked to someone that you feel is very humble, you often find that that person exudes some calmness, makes you feel sort of at ease. And part of the reason why that is because that person who is given out this humility is very self-accepting. So typically if somebody that you feel comes across as very humble towards you is in fact exuding that sense of calmness, it's because they themselves don't have any judgment towards themselves. They accept themselves for who they are as they are. And that in turn allows you to not have to safeguard your own ego and raise these barriers to keep yourself from really revealing yourself to that other person, and that calms you down. So that's what humility can do in a two-way conversation when somebody is exuding that quality of being humble. So what can we do? We live in a society today, the modern era, I believe it to be very narcissistic. It's very self-centered, particularly with everything having to do with social media. Even in something such as this, in making a post for Inspire, ordinarily, me being human, I'm going to want to see what kind of feedback I had, if I had any positive feedback, how many likes I had. And that's the society that we're all sort of growing up in right now, where we're all so self-absorbed. And it's so easy to kind of lose that sense of humility, which is not necessarily, when you think of humility, that we think of ourselves as less than, but we just basically think of ourselves a little less, if that makes sense. So that it allows for more time to think outwardly and think of others more so than ourselves. Obviously in this society and in this culture, self-aggrandizement is very much important to everybody. Your appearance is very important. External accomplishments, whether you're going up the corporate ladder or not, matters a lot. And for us to sort of exude that quality of humility and humbleness, basically what it takes is to not to place our own sense of self-worth on those things. So rather than say, I am worthy because I am a practicing attorney or a medical doctor or an engineer, something external, I am worthy based on my intrinsic value as a human being. So I'm a human being, and because I'm a human being, I am worthy. I am of value just in and of itself because I'm a human being. That person that you think of as being a humble person, that's essentially how they live their lives and how they exude that calmness, is that they may very well be accomplished externally, but they don't basically hold themselves or think of themselves as worthy because of those things. Their worth is basically tied to that intrinsic value of I'm a human being with my virtues and my defects, and because of that, I am of value to society. So that quality is extremely important. And what can we do in order to become more humble or put that in practice, as this society makes it so very difficult for us to be humble? One of the things that we can do is embrace our humanity. There was a song in the 1980s by a band called The Human League. It has a very famous line that says, I'm only human, I was born to make mistakes. We all make mistakes. So as far as us accepting those mistakes and not judging ourselves for not being perfect, that's going to allow us to exude more of that humility and that humbleness. So embracing our humanity, I think that's very important in order for us to work on that humility. Also, trying to put into practice some form of mindfulness, which we've talked about in the past, as well as self-compassion. So love yourself as you are, exactly as you are. Meet yourself halfway in that sense that, hey, you know, I'm good at some things, and some things I need to work on. And because you're practicing that mindfulness, that awareness of thought without judgment, You're becoming aware maybe of some things that you need to work on in the background. All of us have some things that we could work on. And I think lastly, which we talked about a few weeks ago, is expressing gratitude. So when you say thank you to life for everything that's being given to you, humility and gratitude, they sort of go hand in hand. They're enmeshed with one another. So it's kind of hard to express gratitude without expressing humility all the while. So those things go hand in hand. So be thankful for who you are, as you are, and sure, there are things that you need to work on, but that only makes you human. And lastly, one thought that I want to share with you came from my brother-in-law a few weeks ago. We had a dinner here at the house, and one of the more profound things that I've heard somebody express in terms of how to deal with your ego, how to keep your ego in check. And he shared with me, he's a medical doctor, that whenever he has thoughts that are sort of grappling over him and just keeping him uneasy, he tries to quickly stop, interrupt that thought and think of something almost in the immediate that he can do to help somebody else. So thinking outwardly of somebody else and what you can do for somebody else to make them feel better, and putting away those thoughts that are a sort of self-defeating. And in putting that in practice, what he finds is that those thoughts that were putting himself down, putting himself as feeling lesser than, they lose power. So isn't that incredible that in a spirit of servitude, as we think of others, we feel better. So it's a very circular thing. So humility is so very important, and I certainly hope that all of us, myself included, can put more of that in practice for each other, so that the experience that we're all sharing can be so much more enjoyable. I hope that you find these reflections useful. It's always an enormous pleasure for me to be in front of you and sharing these thoughts. Please give us your feedback. Tell me how we're doing with these reflections, and if there's any word that you want us to explore, please look for us on YouTube under Inspire Movement, as we have some very nice interviews that are there, all for you to enjoy. And please subscribe. I look forward to seeing you next week, and have a wonderful, wonderful rest of the week. Thank you so much.